he blubbered, in what I assumed was a pretty good imitation of Tyler Bell. "You closed Bell's bank account yourself, right?" Bree asked before I got the chance. "And played Tyler Bell at the grocery store before that," I added. That explained the milk and other duplicate food we'd found in the refrigerator back at the cabin. Anthony stood up straight again and turned side to side, showing off the beard, the nose, the heavy brow.
"Pretty good makeup job, right? Took the molds right off Tyler Bell's face."
"Jesus Christ!" Bree sounded more disgusted than anything. "You almost make me ashamed to be human."
"Wait, I got another one for you. This is good shit. Check it out, detectives."
He grew still for a moment. His face morphed into anguish, but someone else's, not Bell's. The posture turned crooked, the energy was less frenetic, and the voice, the one he'd used in our sessions, was deeper, southern, with a different timbre than the others.
"Oh, Jesus, I killed my best friend. Matthew, man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What am I gonna do now?"
His speech slowed as he went on, and the accent broadened until it had become a caricature of itself.
"I ain't nothing but a poor bitch of a vet with a shrink that don't know Gulf War syndrome from German fucking measles."
His eyes fell coldly on me.
"I got it all on tape, Dr. Cross. Every one of our sessions on audio. With me right there under your nose. I took some pictures, too."
He looked over at Sandy.
"You and her. When Sandy tongue-kissed you in front of your office and said she wished you'd met her under different circumstances. I'll tell you a secret."
Sandy replayed the moment between her and me from outside my office.
"I wish I'd met you somewhere else."
I remembered the kiss and how Sandy had motioned me over to the curb, apparently setting up a photo op for Anthony. "Okay," I said. "Now how about why?"
"How about because no one else can do what we can do? No one. Or how about because we worked almost 10 years in the theater and barely made enough money to pay the rent? Or 'cause we saw the shine you have, or used to have, and wanted some for ourselves?"
He stopped and stared at me for several beats.
"Is that what you want to hear, Dr. Cross? Does that help you put us into some little box that you can understand a little better?"
I stared back. "It all depends. Is any of it the truth?" He laughed, and so did Sandy.
Nah, not a word. How could someone like me not do well in life? I have money, and now I have fame. Even Kyle Craig is a fan. And we're fans of Kyle's. Talk about a small world. Kyle Craig is a hero of ours, just like Bundy and Gacy. And Gary Sinigi. When Kyle got slammed into ADX Florence, we figured out how to make contact. He wanted to hear all about what we were up to. We felt the same way about him. There are a lot of us out there, Doctor. The ones who kill, and the ones who only wish they could. Kyle's lawyer was a fan, too. A devoted fan, you'd have to say. And now Kyle Craig is following our story the way we used to follow his. He's right here in Washington. That's exciting, don't you think?
Chapter 119. I watched DCAK's live performance because that's what it was, a calculated act. But something else was happening here, something much more interesting to me right now. It all went back to that camping trip at Catoctin Mountain Park. Bree's hands worked steadily behind her back, mostly indiscernibly from what I could tell. She was trying to undo the ropes around her wrists. My view of the laptop let me know that much. It also told me I needed to keep Anthony and Sandy face to face, focused on me, not on what Bree was trying to do. But Tyler Bell gets the credit for all this? Not the two of you? Especially not Sandy? I asked, as if I cared.
You're not paying attention. All this
He swept his arm around the room.
is just today's mindfuck. Once we're gone, once everyone sees the story, then it happens all over again. Maybe with a new cop stooge. Or maybe a news reporter, a news anchor, a big shot at the Washington Post or USA Today.
You know, you're not the first to run something like this, right? Colin Johns, Miami, 1995. And here Anthony's veneer cracked just a little bit.
Never heard of him.
That's my point, exactly. Colin Johns was famous for about, 5 minutes. And he was a lot better at this than you are. Either of you. Anthony stood there with his arms folded, shaking his head back and forth. I could tell he was angry at me now.
You're really pretty bad as a shrink, you know that? This is supposed to, what? Make me not kill you?
No, but it might take some of the enjoyment out of it. Confidence was the game here, not facts. Not the techniques of therapy. I was making it up as fast as I could. I asked, "How about Ronnie Jessup? 3 homicides, all of them on live TV. He even used his real name. You ever hear of Ronnie Jessup? You, Sandy?"
No, but a dirty little birdie told me that you're about to die. I can't wait.
In 2 strides, Anthony crossed the floor and smashed me in the face with the butt of his gun.
Keep it up, Dr. Cross.
He loomed there, ready to swing again, but I figured he wouldn't want me unconscious now. I was here to watch. I spit a mouthful of blood on the floor. Madeline Purvis, Boston, 1958. I threw out another psychopathic killer's name for him.
All right, that's it. I'm invoking the gag rule.
He stormed over to the props table, tucked the gun in his waistband again, and picked up a roll of duct tape. It crackled loudly as he tore off a length, then started back to me. I turned my head away, not to stop him, but to get him into a better position. One way or the other, this was it. Either Bree was ready, or she wasn't. As Anthony stepped in close with the strip of tape, Bree's hands flew up from behind her back. Sandy saw it too.
Bro, look out!
Bro? The 2 of them were brother and sister? That was a twist I hadn't seen coming. Maybe because of the sex scene on the couch in my office. But possibly they were lovers, too. Chapter 120. Whoever Anthony was, he wheeled on Bree as she managed to pull away his gun. He caught her face with a fast, hard backhand. The Glock fired, missed Anthony, but Bree went spinning to one side. She hit the wall behind her overturned chair. Suddenly, Sandy had a gun in her hand, and it was aimed at me. Bree managed to level the Glock at her and fire. Twice. She wasn't fooling around. Both shots struck Sandy Quinlan in the chest. Her mouth opened wide in shock, and I think she was dead as she stood there with the gun in her hand. Then Sandy crumpled like a marionette, and that didn't make me feel very good. I'd spent too much time with Sandy. I thought I knew her, even if I hadn't. She'd been a patient. I was struggling to my feet now, pulling with all my might on the spike in the floor, which started to give. It had to give. Bree fired again. One of the spotlights exploded as Anthony passed under it. He was getting away, running in a low crouch. He was also laughing. Playing another part, or just being himself? I heaved, legs straining, and the rope finally pulled free. It slackened on my wrists, enough for me to wrench my hands out anyway. Then I ran after Anthony. "Call for backup!" I shouted to Bree. The black Motorola was still on the ground. So was Sandy Quinlan, wide-eyed and bleeding from 2 wounds so tightly bunched that they almost looked like one. I hit the stairs and immediately heard glass smashing above me. Anthony, DCAK, was getting out of there, wasn't he? Seconds later, I stumbled up into an empty storefront. The door to the street was closed and still had a padlock, but the display window was no more than glass shards and air. I spotted an old wooden chair lying out on the sidewalk. I ran up and climbed through the opening in the window. People hovered outside, watching me like I was the boogeyman. A kid pointed up the block. "White guy," he said. I saw Anthony then, running at a full clip on the other side of the street. He looked back and spotted me too. Then he ducked into a store on his right. "Call the police!" I shouted for anyone who would listen and maybe help. "That's DCAK!" I added. Then I tore up the sidewalk after him. Chapter 121. The place DCAK had entered was a hole-in-the-wall restaurant for Mexican takeout. There were no tables in the front, just one very shaken old woman splayed on the floor, and a skinny cashier still pressed to the wall like he was his own shadow. I ran around the counter, pushing through a swinging door back into the kitchen. The temperature instantly went up about 20 degrees. 2 cooks shouted at me in Spanish. Too late. I saw Anthony come at me from the right. What the hell? A cast-iron pan burned through my shirt and sent searing pain up my arm and right into my brain. My gun went flying off somewhere behind the stove. I countered reflexively with my other hand, an uppercut to his temple, a second punch to his throat. He let go of the frying pan, and I grabbed it myself. I pushed it into Anthony's face, then let it go before it fried the skin off my hand. He howled and stumbled back, blackened prosthetic skin sagging around one ear. Both of the cooks screamed as if they were the ones who'd just gotten burned. Anthony steadied himself on the edge of an industrial range. He grabbed another cooking pan and hurled sizzling oil and vegetables in my direction. I avoided the flying grease, but Anthony was headed toward the back door. He pulled down a set of baker's shelves as he went. Dishes and equipment crashed everywhere. Lots of noise and chaos and shattering pottery.
My sister's dead,
he screamed back at me. Meaning what? That now he was really mad? I grabbed a kitchen knife and went after him. Chapter 122. As I jumped out into a long, wide alleyway, the delivery entrance, I heard sirens wailing from somewhere in the neighborhood. I hoped to hell they were for us, and that somebody would figure out real fast that I was back here with DCAK. The alley ran behind several buildings, with a dead end to my right and a busy street to my left, about 50 yards off, farther than he could have run by now, anyway. So where was he hiding? He had to be close, but where? I threw open the nearest dumpster, and a repulsive wave of garbage smell came up at me, but no Anthony. No DCAK. I turned my back on the alley just long enough to lean into the trash and make sure he wasn't there. Another 3 dumpsters lined the wall. Dusty, rusting cars were stacked on the other side. I checked down low. He wasn't hiding under any of them. Where was he? I saw him out of the corner of my eye, and just in time. I narrowly missed getting sliced across the face. He'd been behind one of the dumpsters, and he had a knife. He seemed confident and scarily under control, considering the circumstances. Almost like he was playing another role. I sure wasn't. Knives weren't my thing, but the kitchen blade was the only weapon I had right now. He came for me again. The blade whiffed past my face, barely missing flesh. He sliced the blade at me again, and again, and again. I feinted a short thrust back at him, and he laughed.
I think I'm gonna like this. I know I am. I trained in hand-to-hand. How about you, Dr. Cross?
He didn't bother to taunt or test, just stabbed the knife at me again. I jumped away, and he missed, but not by much, an inch or so. Anthony's face was intense, the veins pulsed, but his eyes remained playful. He was toying with me. Was he missing on purpose? Stretching this out?
The once great Alex Cross. Too bad we don't have an audience. Oh, but you do. I'm your audience this time, DCAK,
said a voice. We both turned, and there was Kyle Craig. Chapter 123. Kyle